we are not doing this alone, are we? We have right here in our studios this morning Mr. Laolu Akande, who served as a special advisor to media in that particular government in the second coming of President Muhammadu Buhari when he reigned as a president for this, well, I say for 8 years. Mr. Laolu Akande, it's good to see you in our studios this morning. This must be quite a time for you as one who also worked somewhat closely with him. We know you served more with the vice president, but here we are talking about the president whom the vice president served very closely, you know, as his deputy. Yeah. So what has your, looking at, you know, the passage, the tributes that have poured in, and also the reaction of, you know, let's say a broad spectrum of Nigerians, what are some of your thoughts? What thoughts come to you at this time?
Right, good morning and thank you. I think for me, the most compelling thing about former President Muhammadu Buhari is the fact that he was the arrowhead of the clamor for change in this country in 2015. And if you recollect very well, that was a movement that had a very strong national fervor, you know, so much so that for the first time in our history, you had an opposition president candidate defeating an incumbent. President Muhammadu Buhari was the one that made that happen. It was his image, it was his reputation that facilitated that favor. That is what I remember him most for, because that was a major moment in Nigeria's history, and clearly, you know, both unprecedented, and then created a promise that a lot of Nigerians were endeared by. You know, this is what that's how I like to remember him, and that was the peak of his personal achievement on the national scene for me.
Maybe you left out the man who defeated, the first to have defeated an incumbent in the Fourth Republic. It was always almost a style that if a party in power run for an election, especially when a president is running again, he wins. He will also be remembered for that. Yeah. And Goodluck Jonathan will also be remembered as the man who conceded defeat. Yes, so it was a give and take. Buhari defeated, and led the clamor for change, like you rightly said. But also the man who had always had in the bag about 12 million votes. He had that in 2007, he had that in 2011, he had 15,500,000 votes in 2015, and that vote reduced in 2019 when he had 15,300,000 plus vote. Okay. But in those moments, especially when you worked closely with Professor Yemi Osinbajo, right, your close relationship, because as a candidate, Yemi Osinbajo and candidate Muhammadu Buhari, a lot of the times you were in the room with them. Right. What kind of personality, take away politics, take away being a soldier, what kind of person did you see on the close range that Muhammadu Buhari was? Well, I mean,
in my view, he was a real human being. You know, I have a way of categorizing people. When people do stuff, I say this is a fake human being, you know, because of the deceit and the kind of stuff. But Muhammadu Buhari was a real human being. You could feel his empathy. You could feel his simplicity. I remember the story. You know, we weren't close enough to hear him, but I mean, the vice president was sitting with him in the bus, in the campaign bus, the both of them, you know, somewhere in the north. And, you know, of course, the mammoth crowd that was attending all of the appearances, especially in the north, was quite huge. And some of them were pressing against the you know, the window of the bus, and he turned to President Buhari, turned to Yemi Osinbajo, Prof, and said that these people, you know, the way they are so enthusiastic, they expect us to change Nigeria day one when we get there. So he understood the fervor, the expectation that Nigerians had, and he knew that there was so much expectations and confidence that was reposed in his person. And when I look at it, you know, from the benefit of hindsight, some of the things that he refused to do, such as the removal of the subsidy, I get a sense that, you know, it must be that kind of experience that he had that actually prevented him from going all the way to say that, look, we just got to stop this thing. You know, there are quite a number of examples where you see that Buhari will stick with the expectations of the people rather than do what even experts say, look, we've got to do this and take the fall now. That's the kind of person that was. It was real. It was a real human being. You could count that if he said something, you know, he actually meant it.
Well, I do know that quite a number of tributes have poured in. And when you look at almost all of the tributes that have come in, one word, you know, seems to be common to all of them, and that word is patriot. Looking at the tribute of Vice President Oshibajo, he says, Nigeria has lost a true patriot, a man whose life was marked by unyielding devotion to the nation he loved. President Tinubu, too, also makes reference to him being a patriot. He says President Buhari was to the very core a patriot, a soldier, a statesman. His legacy of service and sacrifice endures. You also see that of IBB, who interestingly overthrew him in 1985, also calls him, you know, a patriot. He says he knew him as, that this is it. He says our path crossed in 1962 when we both joined the Nigerian Military Training College in Kaduna. He says from those early days, Muhammadu stood out, quiet yet resolute, principled yet humble, deeply patriotic, and fiercely loyal to Nigeria. Would you say that for the majority of Nigerians, for Nigeria's teeming 200 million plus population, that patriotism, which all of these leaders have testified to, would you say it shines through?
Without a doubt, you couldn't take away that patriotism from Muhammadu Buhari, you know, starting from when he was a soldier all the way to when he became the head of state. And of course, when he started to run, you could tell that he had an unrelenting, an abiding faith in the idea of Nigeria, and he considered himself to be more on the side of the people. One thing that most people don't understand is that, don't realize, you know, factor in about his politics is that he is not your typical political elite, you know, who wants to, who emphasizes more of the personal aggrandizement. No. I mean, Muhammadu Buhari knew that his purpose in politics was because of the connection that he had and carried with the people, and it showed in many of the things that he tried to do. I mean, the fact that it was under his presidency that Nigeria had, for the first time in our history, a substantial social safety net program, which between 2015 and 2019 was considered to be the largest social safety net in sub-Saharan Africa. He spoke to his dedication, his abiding dedication that the people is the reason why he's in government. You know, so I mean, by and large, you can't take away his patriotism, his love of the country, and his passion for people.